Here. Veteran dies of treatable illness as COVID fills hospital beds, leaving doctors playing musical chairs. Look at that, dude. I thought we loved our veterans, right?
Welcome back to see.
Conservatives love talking about how pro-life they are until the baby is pushed out of the vagina, in which case then the baby needs to fucking very quickly find its bootstraps, right? And the same for veterans. We love how much we love our veterans, don't we, folks? We love them. We love our veterans. You know, until they fucking come back, and then it's a costly burden on the American taxpayer, in which case you can just fucking eat shit and die. That's the attitude that we have towards our veterans. Hey, I'll just fucking, you know, I'll salute you, though. Come on, what more do you want, dude? You get $5 off jalapeno poppers, dude. People respect your service symbolically. Think about that, dude. It's a great bargain.
CBS this morning, the surge in new COVID cases is putting an enormous strain on hospitals across the country. At Belleville Medical Center, that's outside Houston, Texas, patients needing an ICU bed are being airlifted to hospitals in other states. But finding an open bed there is often difficult, too. It's a struggle that can have life or death consequences. Our lead national correspondent, that's David Begnaud, in Belleville with more on this story. David, good morning to you.
Good morning. The next time you hear somebody say that the COVID crisis is affecting non-COVID patients, remember the name Daniel Wilkinson. He was a U.S. Army veteran. In fact, the military flags still fly right here on the front porch of his home in Belleville. He started feeling sick last weekend. He lives just an hour and a half down the road from Houston, where they have some of the best medical care in the world. And he lives within yelling distance of the local hospital. But none of that was enough when he started feeling sick and couldn't get the medical care he needed to survive.
This was U.S. Army veteran Daniel Wilkinson on an emergency room stretcher shortly before he died.
He loved his country. He served 2 deployments over in Afghanistan, came home with a Purple Heart, and it was a gallstone that took him out.
Last Saturday, Wilkinson's mother, Michelle Puget, rushed him to Belleville Medical Center, just 3 doors down from their home. But for Wilkinson, help was still too far away.
I do labs on him. I get labs, and the labs come back, and I'm at the computer, and I have one of those oh crap moments.
ER Dr. Hasan treated Wilkinson, and he discovered that he had gallstone pancreatitis, something the Belleville Hospital was not equipped to treat.
If that stone doesn't spontaneously come out and doesn't resolve itself, that fluid just builds up, backs up into the liver, backs up into the pancreas, and starts to shut down those organs. His blood work even showed that his kidneys were shutting down.
This went from life.
Every time there's a Hasan on screen, you don't have to say, like, Hasan Pago, okay? It's not me, Chad.
Threatening to...
He's dying.
In front of you.
Yes.
Wilkinson needed a higher level of care, but with hospitals across Texas and much of the South overwhelmed with COVID patients, there was no place for him.
We're making phone calls. Sorry. Places had the specialist to do the procedure, but because of how sick he was, they didn't have an ICU bed to put him. So then I'm at my computer and I'm just like scratching my head. I'm like, and I get this thought in my head. I'm like, oh, what if I put this on Facebook or something? Maybe someone can help out. One doc messaged me, hey, I'm in Missouri. Last time I checked, we have ICU beds. We can do this. Call this number. The next guy messages me. He's a GI specialist. He goes, I'm in Austin. I can do his procedure. Get him over to me. I said, okay, great, let's go. He texts me back 5 minutes later. I'm sorry, I can't get administrative approval to accept him. We're full.
For nearly 7 hours, Wilkinson waited in this bed.
I had that thought in my head is like, I need to get his mother here right now. I told her, I said, if he doesn't get this procedure done, he is going to die. I also had to have the discussion with him. Dan, I said, if your heart stops in front of me right here.
Wealthiest nation on earth. We have the most resources. We have literally the most knowledge. We have so much at our disposal if we cared to genuinely treat our citizens like human beings, and yet we don't. I want to point that out. Like, we have the capacity. We have the capacity to at least educate people. We have the capacity to implement rules and restrictions and regulations that ensure that enough people are vaccinated so we don't fucking, you know, we don't take up ICU capacity for dummies. But no, we can't do that. We won't do that because we got freedoms, baby. American individualism, American exceptionalism. That's right. That's how it works.
What do you want me to do? Do you want me to do everything we can to resuscitate you and try and get your heart back? And I said, if that were to happen, Dan, if I were to get you back.
What about the hospitals in Israel full of 70% vaccinated people taking up beds? I fucking love that take, dude. Dog, the Israeli population that is vaccinated is significantly higher. First of all, the numbers that you're pointing out are not correct. And secondly, if 100% of the Israeli population was vaccinated, then yes, 100% of the hospital beds would be occupied by people who are vaccinated. That is just how math works. Just because you fail to comprehend how math works does not change the reality that, like, vaccines are working. They are preventing people from going to the hospital, and the worst symptoms are eradicated. But why am I describing to an anti-vaxxer what math is? Math is an Arabic invention. It was created to lie to you. Algebra is far too similar to Al-Qaeda for my taste. Algorithmic? No, thank you. That's right. I hate the number 0. I hate it. The Muslimans, they created that number 0. I don't trust it. Only thing I trust is the top of the hour goddamn ad break. You understand me? That's right. Because at the top of the fucking hour, there's always a 60-second ad break that comes in. And I know that. I know that it's going to come in, but I also know that I can avoid those ads if I subscribe. That's right. If I subscribe for $5 or for free because I got a Twitch Prime because my wife's boyfriend has an Amazon Prime account and I took that shit from him. He plays with my Nintendo Switch and I take his Amazon Prime account connected to my Twitch so I can get a free subscription. I also can use a VPN or an ad block. These are the ways that I can avoid the ad at the top of the goddamn hour on this socialist broadcast. 6-second ad break incoming. Twitch Prime is free.
We're still in that position where we're in right now.
What did he say?
He said, I want to talk to my mom about that.
Finally,
Probably shouldn't have, taken a more lighthearted, joking ad transition in the middle of a doctor crying about not being able to fucking save his veteran patient who just died simply because the hospitals were crowded with dumbasses who refused to take the vaccine.
bed opened up at the VA hospital in Houston. It was a helicopter ride away.
He goes, oh man, I promised myself after Afghanistan I would never be in a helicopter again. And he goes, oh well, I guess.
This is video of Daniel being airlifted to Houston, but it was too late.
They weren't able to do the procedure on him because it had been too long, and told me that they had seen air pockets in his intestines, which means that they were already starting to die off. So they told me that I had to make a decision, and I knew how Danny felt. He didn't want to be that way, so we were all in agreement that we had to let him go.
Roughly 24 hours after he walked into the emergency room, Daniel Wilkinson died at the age of 46.
I've never lost a patient from this diagnosis. Never. Because we know what needs to be done, and we know how to treat it, and we get them to where they need to go. I'm scared that the next patient that I see is someone that I can't get to where they need to get to. We are playing musical chairs with 100 people and 10 chairs. When the music stops, what happens? People from all over the world come to Houston to get medical care. And right now, Houston can't take care of patients from the next town over. That's the reality.
Dr. Cackley says if we weren't in this crisis, it would have taken him 30 minutes to get Daniel out the door. It took 7 hours. There are 102 people in the Houston area waiting for an ICU bed right now. And I called the county executive, Judge Lena Hidalgo, and I said, Judge, can you not open a field hospital and put these people somewhere? And she said, David, I can, and I'm ready. But she said, what I'm hearing from the hospital executives are, we have more beds, we just don't have the nurses. They got 700 nurses that arrived in Houston last week, and it's still not enough to meet the demand.
They're fucking shipping in nurses. Like, we're playing musical chair with nurses, dude. America isn't doing well. Okay, I'm not gonna. How many percentage of these are horse dewormer Andes, and how many are actual COVID? No. For the record, the horse dewormer doesn't like magically or automatically poison you. I mean, there are a lot of people who are poisoned by it because the dosage is like really fucked up. No, these hospital beds are being occupied by dumbasses who did not get vaccinated and now are like super sick because they got COVID. Horse dewormer just makes the situation worse in many instances. That's it. That's the difference. Travel nurse rotations having to marathon this COVID crisis instead of sprints originally planned. Fucking anti-vaxxers.